Hey everyone, Zach here, and we have a very special guest on the podcast today, NBA legend Tree Rollins. If you grew up in the South and watched basketball, you'll recognize Tree from his days on the Hawks. Tree played in the NBA for 18 seasons, and after retiring from the NBA, held various coaching positions. Over the years that I've known Tree, I've heard some great stories and thought it would be a good opportunity to have him on the podcast today. Tree, thanks so much for joining us today. How are you?
I'm doing very well, my friend. How are you doing?
Doing excellent. Well, let's get started from the beginning of your career and go to the early days. So you grew up in Cordele, Georgia, which is about 65 miles south of Macon. What was life like growing up in a small town in Georgia? And when did you start playing basketball?
Well, life for me started off pretty rough, as most of the African Americans in, the South were. My mother was raising 6 boys on her own in a very small town, pretty much just a farming town. So, of course, we had to do all the farm work and man in the fields and all of that, plus try to go to school every day. So it was pretty rough, just the bare minimum as far as comfort. We stayed with my grandfather to start it off. We moved from Winter Haven, Florida when I was about 6 years old. My mom moved up with her dad. So, but, Mom got us through it through prayer. And, of course, every Sunday we was in church. So that got us a good foundation. But as far as basketball, it was kind of rough also because that was doing the civil rights movements and all of that. So I started off in a segregated high school, and I ended up in an integrated high school for my last 2 years. So, the whole line of black and white, whether he was a good player or not a good player, is still the racial thing popped up. But for me, I was not a really good basketball player, believe it or not. I started playing basketball pretty much to get out of the fields.
Wow.
And so basketball was available for me, and I took advantage of the opportunity to play basketball. So like I said, I couldn't even jump rope when we got started. My high school coach was a guy by the name of Bud Denham. I never forget that day he gave me the jump rope and said, jump rope. And I couldn't do it. But I took it home and, went out in the back and hiding from everybody so I wouldn't embarrass myself in front of anyone and learn how to jump rope. And, God blessed me. I had a growth spurt. I grew about 6 inches over that summer from my junior year to my senior year.
Wow.
And got a great understanding of how to play basketball, at least going to summer camps and everything. My first camp went to Mercer University up in Macon, Georgia, and for a summer camp, and I also went to Georgia Southern over in Statesboro, Georgia for a summer camp. And all of that, obviously exposed me to different players and players that were much better than me, and of course, a little bit better coaching and training people. So that really kind of gave me the foundation, and that's where I started. And, of course, I went off to Clemson for 4 years there and became a very good basketball player. And in turn was drafted by the Atlanta Hawks, the 14th player in the first round. And as they say, the rest is history.
Wow. So you were recruited heavily by Auburn, Mercer, Clemson, and many other schools. Why did you choose Clemson? And what was that experience like there?
Oh, man, that was like, that experience, I would never forget it. Like I said earlier, a small town guy who never got to go out of the county, really. And doing college recruiting, I got to go everywhere from Florida back to Florida to all over the United States, and even went a visit to Hawaii, believe it or not. And had no plans on going to Hawaii, but at that stage, I just wanted to see the world. But my mother was heavily involved in which school I would be attending. She did not want me to go too far away, and being Clemson from Cordele was only about maybe 8 to 10 hours, maybe. And so she was my biggest influence of choosing Clemson. And, of course, the Clemson coaches, State Slop, Bill Clendenin, They all did a great job of recruiting me. I mean, I think I added a bunch of money to the Cordele economy because, as you said, all the coaches from all over, every week, every time we played, they was there watching me play.
Wow. And you were in the 1975 Pan American Games. Talk about that experience and some of the players that you played with.
We had a great team. I mean, the experience, first time I got to go, out of the country and see at Mexico City, as you mentioned. But I had guys like Tom Lagarde, another guy by the name of Robert Parrish, who we all know, Otis Birdsong, guys like that. We also had, I can't think of the names now. But anyway, a lot of the guys I played with, went on to become pretty good NBA players. And that was an important thing. Like, I'm still very good friends with Johnny Davis, who also was on the team. And so a lot of those guys now, we get together at NBA All-Star and really talk about the days in Mexico City. I mean, we had such a great team, a talented team, until, we jokingly say that we were really the first dream team.
Wow.
Because we were just beating guys like, with no problem. But those were very good days. And again, like I said, I got to go out of the country. I had never experienced that. And just to be around, people speaking a different language. I didn't get that in Cordele, nor did I get it in Clemson. So it was a very humbling experience, though, to see that you finally got to see how, the rest of the world lives, so to speak.
Right. And in 1977, you were drafted by the Atlanta Hawks. What was your first season there like?
Well, my first season with the Hawks, man, they was saying that we would win 15 games. And I was saying 15 games out of 82, how bad are we going to be? and back in that area, I kind of signed my contract with the Hawks on the weekend before the draft. I mean, it wasn't all this green room stuff and everything. Everybody been flying up to New York for the draft and all of that. I mean, they called me up and I said, we were thinking about drafting you. Do you want to come down and sign the contract? I did not have an agent, so now I got to find an agent. So I contacted my college coach, and who was Bill Foster, and he said, well, we got to get you an agent. And so I got the agent, and of course I went down, like I said, to sign the contract the weekend before the draft. So doing draft, I was back in Cordele. But my first year was under Coach Hubie Brown. Now, Coach Hubie Brown is a very knowledgeable basketball person. Now, the only thing I can say bad about him is that is his way or no way. You're going to do it his way, or you're not going to be in the game, or you probably won't be on the team. Well, a very demanding coach, and that's kind of how I got dubbed as a defensive player. He set me down. He said, I want you to rebound. I want you to block shots. I said, what about scoring? He said, we got other people that's going to be scoring. So I want you to rebound. I want you to block shots. So that's what I did. Wow. I rebounded and I blocked shots. And we went on that year to win 41 games, and which was much more games than, people had predicted we would win. We got knocked out in the second round. I think Washington Bullets at the time beat us. We upset Houston Rockets and moved on to the second round. Like I said, got beaten by Kevin Greavy and his guys.
Nice. And, in today's NBA, you have bench players with huge contracts, but back in the 80s, the NBA was a much different league. Tell us what it was like back in the day in the NBA.
Well, back in the day, being a young green guy coming out of college, if I had $10 in my pocket, I thought I was the man. And I know it was one reported saying that Clyde Frazier, I think he was playing with New York, said that his contract was more than our entire team contract. So I came in. As my first contract I signed was $75,000. I deferred some of that, and I brought home $35,000. So that's what I had to live off and help take care of my family with. Wow. I came in a one-bedroom apartment, Had a 19, had a little van. Custom vans was really big back then. I bought me a custom van for like $3,500, and that's how I made it.
Wow.
And it was a lot of fun, and just, again, traveling. I enjoyed traveling, and just the camaraderie of the team, and just the fight that we had to go through every night. We was always the underdog. But Coach Brown and the rest of the crew got us prepared for the games, and, we did it. It was hard work. It was really hard work, but we was able to do it and have fun while I was doing it.
So in 1982, the Atlanta Hawks acquired Dominique Wilkins, and he won 2 NBA dunk contests, and he has the nickname the Human Highlight Reel. What's your favorite Dominique story?
Well, I guess my favorite Dominique story as far as basketball goes is that I forget the game we was playing, but anyway, I was going up for an offensive rebound, and I knew I was going to have an opportunity to dunk the ball. And Dominique, some kind of way, jumped over me and the other guy was defending me, and he dunked the ball. And, was he dropped out of the sky, or where did he come from? But just watching him, even doing warm-ups, I'll never forget his rookie year. If you got to the game, it was like a black college football game. When halftime comes, nobody leaves because of the bands. Well, Dominique was like doing warm-up. He would put on a show. And we pretty much had to subdue him a little bit and tell him, "Come on, young fella, slow down. You're going to be too tired when the game starts." And he would just put on a show. And he was just played with so much energy and just all out. Everything he did basketball-wise was all out. So, he was just something to see. Sometimes you caught yourself watching him play instead of, you playing along with him. And you found yourself watching him play.
Huh. So in 1983, the Hawks, they brought in Willis Reed, who won 2 championships with the Knicks playing as center. What did Willis Reed teach you about playing center?
He taught me how to play at center in professional basketball. And what I mean by that is that, Willis wouldn't have got it jumped out of the gym. Willis didn't have, the fastest center in doing his career. But he set me down. He set all of us down, the big guys, the 4s and the 5. He set us down and started just talking to us how to watch the game. And that's when I really realized that professional basketball, was a very slow game. He taught us all the ins and outs of what we should be looking for, how to read body language, what you should be doing while you're on the bench, what are you watching? Are you over there just resting, or are you really still staying involved in the game? And one practice, Mike Fratello, who's the head coach, with Hubert, even with Hubert and with Mike the year before we got Willis, we all practiced together. The big guys did the same drills as the little guys. And it was one drill we did called zigzag, which was you got to zigzag, play defense while the guys bringing the ball up for full court. And one day, Willis just stopped practice and say, hold up. If my big guys had a zigzag at 90 feet, the game is over already. And so what he did, he took the 4s and the 5s and took us to the other end of the courts, and he left the 1, 2s, and 3s down with the other coach. And that's how, from then on, that's the way, I've been learning. I learned how to play ball, and even in my coach's day, that's the way I trained during those days. But Willis really brought that stuff that you really can't teach, day to day. Just getting to talk with him and talk with him after the game and for the game. And like I said, he tell you what to look for in this guy, how to study film. Just watching basketball, that's really studying how this guy like to get to this spot. And you just move him 2 inches or 3 inches away, he's a different player. And so all that little stuff he taught me.
Yeah, no, that's very insightful. And in that same year, 1983, in the playoffs with Boston, you were involved with a bench clearing brawl with Danny Ainge. What happened in that circumstance?
What really happened in that game, and I have to explain this every time I go to the barbershop, believe it or not.
Right.
And but I mean, and one guy, I think this year, my barber was telling me just a couple of weeks ago that this, I think it was the police report, that he said it best in his reporting, as he has said that, you know, Tree Rollins will always be remembered for the brawl with Boston and Danny Ainge. But Tree Rollins brought a lot more to NBA basketball than that. And, you know, that's probably the first real compliment that I have received as a former basketball player. But to answer your question, what happened in that game, we ran a play we call single double, and that is where we're sitting, the shooting guard at the time was Mike Glenn. We're sitting him down in the middle of the lane, and he can come out either the double side, which you're going to have the 5 and the 3, or the single side where you have the 4. And so Mike came off my side, which was the double side. So when he came, we was always taught, watch the defender. If his head is turned, then you get yourself set to set a pick. So I noticed Danny's head was turned the wrong way. And so when Stinger, Mike Glenn, we call him Stinger, when Stinger came off my side, it was a great setup. So there I was right there on the baseline. And I stuck him. I'm not going to lie. I picked him pretty good. But on the baseline official, he gave the clap hand signal, which means good pick. So, of course, Danny didn't like the pick. Matter of fact, when he came off, Mike Glenn was wide open. So Parrish had to now switch to Mike Glenn, and Mike dumped the ball off to me for the dunk. Okay, I got to dunk the ball, so I'm happy with myself. So the last thing I was thinking about is a fight because I didn't get the ball very much. But so as I'm coming down court to get back on defense, I caught Danny out of the left side, my left vision. I caught Danny, you know, really squashed down, ready to fire on me. And so in passing him, he was taking a swing, so I got my left elbow up and I caught him right in the head area somewhere in there. And of course, after that, he turned, I turned, and, you know, during the playoff, the rules were, you know, if a fight starts, everybody is in it. And so that's pretty much was it. But to this day, you know, I have to live with that, and I have to live with explaining it. And, you know, I got suspended 2 games, so they end up beating us. So I got suspended 2 games the next season. So,
oh, wow.
So to start the following season, I didn't get to play the first 2 games of the season. But you know, I have no ill feelings towards Danny, because in that generation of basketball, I mean, it was a very physical game. And gosh, no, you know, even with the great Michael Jordan, he knew if he came to the paint, he was going to get hit. And so that's just the way we played.
That's great. And you don't see, of course, that nowadays.
No. You can barely breathe with anybody nowadays.
So in 1985, the Hawks acquired 5'6" Spud Webb, who actually even won an NBA dunk contest. Tell us about how you first met Spud and what your impressions of him were.
Good question. My first impression of Spud Webb, believe it or not, I thought he was the ball boy. We was having training camp, and Charleston, I think it was Charleston, South Carolina, was having training camp. And back in those days, we had training camp where we played our first exhibition game because, you know, basketball wasn't really hyped up as much as it is now. But anyway, Dominique and I was coming in about to get ready for practice, headed towards the locker room. And there was this little, what we thought was a kid, asked us, are we going to the locker room? Of course, we said, yeah. But we thought he was going to be helping out, you know, with practice, ball boy or something like that. And so when we got in the locker room, you know, and we noticed he's followed us into the locker room. And from there, he went into the training room. That's where they would give out your practice gear. And he came out in practice gear. Okay, this is a setup. Maybe somebody's doing some kind of a gift for some kid who wanted to participate in practice. And but then we came out, he started practice, and That was my first experience of Spud. And he was a great guy, great player, and very fast. And I never had one incident where he was on the fast break. He was on the fast break by himself. He just looked back and said, "You guys going to run with me?" And so we had to catch up. But a guy like Spud, I mean, he made Dominique's game just more exciting, if it could be that, because Spud would get the ball, push it up the court, and Dominique would run behind, and obviously Spud would drop the pass off to him, and Dominique dunked the ball. So it made Atlanta Hawks basketball. I mean, Spud brought so much more excitement to it, and Dominique was more than we could handle. But when we got Spud, it just moved up to a whole nother level.
Absolutely. Those were amazing years, for the Hawks. Mm-hmm. And Tree, near the end of your career, you became one of the last player coaches in the league with the Orlando Magic. For those who are unfamiliar with what a player coach does, what is that role?
Well, he's basically an assistant coach. And I got the opportunity by Brian Hill, who was a scout with the Atlanta Hawks during my playing days there. And when Brian told me he was going to get the head coach's job with the Orlando Magic, and he presented it to me, well, this would be a good opportunity. I had played, 16 seasons at the time. He said, we got that guy, Shaquille O'Neal, to be a good opportunity for you to do the same thing that Willis Reed did with you. You could do it with Shaq. And it sounded very, very, very interesting. I mean, I'm playing behind Hakeem Olajuwon in Houston. I wasn't getting very many minutes there, but so I talked it over with my family, and we decided to do it, and that's how I got the job as assistant coach there. But with me, I wanted to make sure in my own mind that by being the assistant and also the player, I didn't want the powers to be to think, well, I still wanted to be a player. So I still did all the things that an assistant coach would do. And again, Brian Hill, who was understudy of Hubert Brown, was very organized. I mean, everything had to be ready to go. You had to do the film work. After the game, we did the breakdown of the film. I'll never forget, Coach Hill would always tell me, go get your rest. You got to play tomorrow. Go get your rest. But I still showed up for those 6:30, 7 o'clock a.m. meetings for the coaches meeting, and then, went out in practice. But it was a very, very, very good experience. It was tough when it came time to having inside information, if you will, about players who was going to be this or going to be that, and just had to keep it in and couldn't share it. Mm-hmm. And we had one incident where we had pretty things wasn't going well with the players, and they called a players only meeting. Okay, obviously I wasn't a player only, but they said that I had to be at the players only meeting, and unfortunately, some stuff that was said in the players only meeting leaked out to the press. And so who do you think they looked at? They looked at me. But I was not the one who leaked it. As the coaching staff, we knew who leaked it, but obviously we couldn't disclose that. But it was on a hiccup, I think. It was one of the hiccups, I should say, as a player coach. Then my final year as a player coach is the year that NBA had the lockout. Okay, so now again, I'm a player coach. And so the rule was that, coaches couldn't talk to players. So the joke was that Tree couldn't talk to himself anymore. But like you said, I was the last one to do it. Another positive came out. Players make more than coaches, so my wife was happy about that.
And what was it like to mentor Shaq? What kind of player was he early on?
Well, respectful. He got that little military background in his family. And a lot of people don't realize Shaquille would work harder than anybody on the floor. I mean, he comes to practice. He came to practice. He would even tell us, y'all want to yell at somebody, yell at me. I can take it. Some of these guys can't take it. Let me be the example. And he took everything on his shoulders. I mean, he was a very giving guy too. I mean, he gave so much back to even his teammates, to community, the whole nine, and a very smart guy. I mean, remember back in those days, he was all into rapping. And he would sit on the back of the plane and conjuring up rap rounds and everything like that. But when he stepped on the court, I mean, it was all about business. All about business. And he was one of those guys who I would always look up to as a basketball player because I know what he brought to the game and what he put in the game. I mean, yeah, he was big, he was dominant. Things came a little bit easier for him than other centers, but he still went in and put in the work.
And what was your favorite Shaq story?
My favorite Shaq story, I guess, was God, was so many. Let's see. Oh man. Well, you know, with players and rookies, okay. Obviously, Shaq was a vet at the time, and I forget the guy's name now. But anyways, rookie was there, and they got some masking tape, duct tape, and they taped this lock of shit with him in it. And that's probably one of the better ones. But another one was playing ball in, I think it was in Europe. And the NBA security, I mean, they kind of like the FBI. You know, no, you're not going to get away from the NBA security.
Wow.
So Shaquille decided he's going to show them 7'1", 300-something pounds. He's going to disappear in a foreign country. And he did. And of course, we all worried, where is he? And he finally gave me a call. He always called me big fella. He said, big fella, no worry. I'm just going to show the NBA that I can disappear. And he did. So, I mean, it was a scary moment at the start, but it turned out to be a very comical moment at the end. But that's a good one. For a guy that big can just disappear.
That's amazing. And Sri, after you retired from the NBA, you coached both in the NBA as well as the WNBA. How was the experience in the WNBA different? You know, what's, I guess, the differences NBA versus WNBA besides the obvious?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, I got the job. Richie Adebayo, who was head coach with the Magic when they released Brian Hill. So Richie took over. And I was just sitting at home one day and got a call from Richie. Richie was coaching the Washington Mystics. And he said, well, I need your help. And I'm like, what? And he said, well, you know I'm coaching the Mystics. I said, yeah. How are you guys doing like that? He said, I really need your help. I said, okay. And I was following the WNBA a little bit, and I knew at the time he did not have a dominant center, so what am I going to be doing? Who am I going to be training? But anyway, so I went up, and to answer your question, the difference is that I had to get used to that, you know, the women, I already knew that, but the women don't get up off the floor as the guys do. I mean, so you got to really depend on the fundamentals. So the women are very fundamental. I mean, they have to use that as a starting point, be very good fundamentally. So teaching that and training that, you know, was a little bit more effort than with a male professional player, because a lot of those guys just what we call God gifted talent. But you gotta really teach everything and stay on it, repetition. And I guess that's probably the biggest difference that I found. You know, maybe the ladies probably work a little bit harder because they have to learn all the fundamentals and stick to the fundamentals because they don't have the ability to dunk the ball or run faster than most of them. But that was the biggest thing for me, just getting a foothold and learning and teaching the fundamentals.
And in your opinion, how has the game evolved since you were a player from the center standpoint?
Well, I mean, the center has been, you know, just wiped away from what Naismith came up with. And, you know, I came up in a generation of, you know, player one has position has specific things that he should be doing. Player two, player 3, 4, and 5. But now we're looking at an current NBA, modern NBA, as they're called, at the barbershop. It's no position. I mean, whoever gets the ball can bring it up the court. Whoever wants to shoot the ball can shoot the ball. Nobody's playing defense. Nobody's rebounding. And it just kills me when I see a guy get a defensive rebound, and that same guy dribbles the ball all the way down the court and dunks the ball. And, nobody guards him. Nobody touches him. Nobody tries to stop him. And, you would think that it would be better during the playoff, but you see the same thing from my eyesight occurring in the playoff. And that's another big thing that us older guys talk about, what happened to the center position. Because back in my day with Huey Brown, if I shot a shot outside of 15 to 17 feet, he's going to pull me out of the game. Like, why are you shooting that? Even doing warm-ups, they caught you shooting, out with it 3 1s and 2s with shooting the ball. I mean, you get chastised about that. And back in my day, you had the power forward. So that power forward was a guy who was going to do a lot of the grunt work, a lot of the physical work. There's a big, powerful guy. That's why he was the power forward. But those days now, I mean, you don't even see that anymore. You see everybody shooting the ball out. And for me to see a 7-footer taking a 3-point shot is just, ludicrous. Right. But that's what have developed. I know we went through the stage in the NBA where NBA was saying, the fans want to see more points, but you're still going to end up with a 1 or 2 point game, whether it's going to be 150 to 49 or 89 to 90. It's still a 1 2 point game. Right. So, but I don't enjoy. I mean, I don't enjoy it, and like a lot of my friends say, "You gonna come over and watch the game?" I said, "I wait till the playoffs start." Because I just can't enjoy the game, and the game been very, very, very good to me and my family, so I still support the game, but I don't enjoy watching the game. I would rather watch a high school or college basketball game.
Interesting. And Tree, is there anything else you'd like to talk about that I didn't mention?
I guess the only thing that's up in the air now is whether we should start the season back. And, being here in Orlando, they're looking at July. And it was very interesting, again, at the barbershop where I get all my counsel on that. Why restart the season? And I think it's pretty important, I think, for the history of the game to complete the season because you started the season. Even back the lockout, you completed the season. So, it still had an asterisk by it, and we used to joke on San Antonio saying they didn't win the title. They was because of half season. But I think it's a good idea if the NBA can find a way to complete the season. And on top of that, we got to remember the NBA was one of the first companies, if you will, to say, wait a minute, pull out, stop, end. So I'm sure they have looked at on every rock to make sure the safety of the players and the fans, is paramount, of course. And they're going to do everything they can do to make sure it's safe. Because, again, they was the first one to stop. They stopped play. In the middle of a game, they stopped play. And, that's saying a lot. And they showed me that it wasn't about the money, stop play. It's about the safety of the people. Mm-hmm. So that's the one thing that been high on my mind now. Whether or not, we mean an NBA, we can complete the season. Because I think, 20 years from now, it's going to be important that, we completed the season.
I agree with you. What were your first thoughts when you saw that the NBA season was paused?
Well, when I heard that, I wasn't watching that game, but when I heard they did what? They stopped the game and told everybody to go home? It wasn't a bomb threat. It was a virus threat. And I'm saying that's when I really, really, to this day, I tell those people who say, well, this virus thing is not serious. I said, man, they stopped an NBA game and sent everybody home. I say, so this is serious because I'm sure, their heads know more than we do. And they got, information that, we're not privy to. So if they stop the game and close the season down, I mean, this virus is serious. I mean, fortunately for me, I don't know anyone close to me or in my circle that have, suffered from the virus. So, I mean, that's a blessing. But I know that, we're 100,000 now deaf. And, you know, we're not a third world country, but we had 100,000 people dead already. So, I mean, that's scary. And, you know, like I tell my young kids and I tell my friends, hey, just protect yourself. You be your own CEO. I mean, you make your own decisions. But, you know, protect yourself and try to help protect others as best you can.
That's terrific advice. And, you know, Tree, thanks again so much for coming on the podcast today. This has been an excellent conversation, and I cannot thank you enough. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, I enjoyed it, big guy. I enjoyed it, my friend. I enjoyed it.